Everyone tells stories of success, but today I will tell you the story of a failed YouTuber. Yes, failed. A person who kept falling every single day, who endured laughter and mockery, who lived without views and subscribers, yet never gave up hope. This is the story of all those who dare to dream, even while standing in the darkness of failure. In a small, crowded neighborhood, tucked away from the glamorous lives that people love to show on social media, lived a young man named Kashif. He was not extraordinary by the standards of the world. He didn't own expensive gadgets, he didn't have a studio, and he had no team to support him. What he had was an old phone with a cracked screen, a shaky internet connection, and a dream. A dream to become a YouTuber who could inspire the world. Kashif wasn't looking for fame in the shallow sense. For him, YouTube wasn't about expensive cars, branded clothes, or showing off wealth. He wanted to tell stories, stories that carried lessons, stories that could comfort someone who was lost, stories that could spark courage in the hearts of people who had given up. But he was also human. And like every human who starts from zero, he carried the invisible weight of doubt, fear, and failure. The first video he ever uploaded was nothing more than his voice recorded over a slideshow of random pictures he had collected from free websites. His editing was rough, the audio cracked, and his English stumbled here and there. But his heart was full of excitement. He spent hours watching the uploading bar move from 0 to 100%, and when the video finally went live, he felt as if he had just launched a rocket into the universe. That night, Kashif couldn't sleep. He refreshed the page again and again. One view. His heart leapt. Then he saw the bitter truth. The only view was his own. By morning, the video had 2 views. One was his, the other was maybe by accident. But in his imagination, Kashif saw millions. He imagined strangers smiling, learning, maybe even wiping a tear because of his words. The next day, he recorded another video. This time, he used the rooftop of his house as the background. The sound of traffic, barking dogs, and neighbors yelling filled the audio, but Kashif didn't care. He thought, one day, these rough sounds will be replaced by professional mics and perfect editing. But for now, I just have to keep going. Weeks passed. He uploaded consistently. Every video carried a piece of his soul, but the views never went beyond 10. Sometimes they stopped at 5. Sometimes there were none. His heart ached every time he saw the 0 comments section. He wondered, am I talking to the walls? Do my words have no value? Yet deep inside, a whisper told him, don't stop. Someone out there is shady. His journey on YouTube did not shine with overnight success. In fact, it was the opposite. Weeks turned into months, and months into a year, but his channel was still crawling with less than 100 subscribers. He would sit late at night, staring at the glowing screen of his old phone. The editing apps crashed often, storage ran out, and his videos sometimes refused to upload because of slow internet. Still, Kashif waited for hours, watching the buffering circle spin endlessly. He thought to himself, if the world can wait for big movies, then surely someone can wait for my story. The world around him, however, was not patient. His friends mocked him. Brother, stop wasting time. Do a real job, they laughed. Some even taunted. You think you'll be the next big star? Look at your videos. Who will watch them? The comments, when they came, were harsher than silence. A stranger once wrote, this is boring. Stop making videos. Another said, your voice is dull. You'll never grow. Those words cut deeper than any knife. Kashif closed the app, threw his phone on the bed, and buried his face in his hands. For hours, he asked himself, am I really a fool? Am I chasing an impossible dream? But then, as tears dried on his face, another voice rose inside him. Yes, you are failing, but failure is not the end. Failure is training. Maybe God is preparing you for something bigger. So he tried again. He recorded outside in the streets, using the sunlight instead of studio lights. He borrowed a friend's microphone for a day and felt like a professional. He studied free tutorials on YouTube itself, learning how to cut, trim, and add background music. Each time he improved a little. Maybe the audio was clearer, maybe the background was softer, maybe the story felt smoother. But the numbers, they stayed the same. 5 views, 10 views, sometimes 0. Still, Kashif refused to quit. At night, he couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying his entire journey. He thought about the bills he couldn't pay, the opportunities he had missed, the relatives who whispered behind his back, poor guy, he wastes his time making silly videos. It hurt, it burned, yet it also fueled him. One evening, while walking through the crowded bazaar, he noticed a young boy selling toys. The boy's voice was hoarse, his clothes dusty, yet he was smiling as if he owned the world. Kashif stopped and asked, "Don't you ever get tired shouting like this all day?" The boy laughed. "If I stop shouting, no one will hear me. If no one hears me, I won't sell. And if I don't sell, I won't eat. So I shout whether people listen or not." That moment struck Kashif like lightning. He realized he too had to keep shouting, keep creating, whether people listened or not. Because silence was death, but persistence was life. So he returned home that night with renewed fire in his heart. He opened his old phone, pressed record, and spoke to the camera. Maybe nobody is watching me now. Maybe nobody believes in me. But one day, this channel will become a voice for the broken, the tired, and the hopeless. Until that day, I will keep speaking, even if it's only to myself. And with those words, Kashif uploaded another video. Continued to pass, and Kashif was still uploading. Video after video, week after week, his library grew. He had uploaded more than 100 videos, yet the subscriber count crawled slowly like a wounded soldier on the battlefield. 98, 99, and then finally one day, he saw it. 100 subscribers. His heart skipped a beat. To the world, it was nothing. A laughable number compared to the millions that others flaunted. But to Kashif, it was everything. It was proof that someone, somewhere, had chosen to stay. That night, he celebrated with a simple cup of tea. Sitting alone on his rooftop, he looked at the stars and whispered, "At least 100 people believe in me." But soon after, the honeymoon ended. He uploaded a video that he had worked on for an entire week. Long hours of scripting, recording, editing, even retakes until his throat went sore. When he finally pressed upload, he thought, "This one will change everything." For the first few hours, the views trickled in slowly, 10, 20, 30. Then, to his shock, they jumped to 200. His heart raced. He refreshed the page again and again. Maybe this is the viral moment, he thought. His hands shook with excitement as he imagined the comments, the shares, the subscribers pouring in. But by the next morning, the growth stopped. 210 views, a couple of likes, 2 short comments, one saying good effort and the other not bad, but boring. That was it. The excitement drained from his body like air from a punctured balloon. He sat in front of the screen, eyes dry, spirit broken. "Why does it always stop here?" he whispered to himself. The false hope cut deeper than constant failure. It was like being shown the door to success, only for it to slam in his face. Still, Kashif pushed on. He started experimenting, trying reaction videos, motivational speeches, even short skits. He mimicked successful YouTubers, thinking maybe their formula would work for him too. But no matter what he tried, the numbers stayed stubborn. Meanwhile, life outside the screen was unforgiving. Bills piled up, his parents worried, neighbors gossiped. "He is wasting his youth," they said. "Other boys are earning, helping their families. And him? He sits with a phone, chasing shadows." Once, during a family gathering, an uncle bluntly said, "Kashif, dreams don't feed stomachs. YouTube will not give you bread." Everyone laughed lightly, trying to turn it into a joke. Kashif forced a smile, but inside his chest, the laughter echoed like knives. Yet, he refused since Kashif first pressed the record button. His channel, though filled with hundreds of videos, was still a graveyard of low numbers. A few faithful subscribers stayed, but growth had long stopped. His most popular video barely crossed 1,000 views, while others lay forgotten with single digits. Outside the world of YouTube, life pressed harder. The weight of bills, responsibilities, and family expectations grew heavier. Sometimes he wondered if the world even remembered him. He had given his youth to chasing this dream, and yet, the dream refused to bloom. One evening, exhausted from another day of disappointment, Kashif sat in front of his dimly lit screen. His latest upload, a heartfelt story he had poured his soul into, had only 7 views in 3 days. He stared at the number, and for the first time, he felt a wave of numbness wash over him. "What's the point?" He whispered and whispered into the silence of his room. "No matter how hard I try, no one listens." He closed his eyes and memories came rushing back. The rooftop nights, the endless hours of editing, the mocking words of relatives, the fleeting joy of 100 subscribers, the bitter taste of false hope. He saw his younger self, full of fire, holding on to dreams larger than his circumstances. And then he saw himself now, older, worn out, but still sitting in front of the same screen. Tears slipped down his cheeks. For a moment, he thought of deleting the channel. Just one tap, and years of struggle would vanish. No one would even notice. No one would even care. But then, deep inside, a tiny voice rose again. The same voice that had kept him alive all these years. Yes, you are a failed YouTuber, but failure is not shameful. Quitting is. His hands trembled as he wiped his face. He whispered to himself, maybe I will never succeed. Maybe my channel will remain hidden in the shadows, but even then I will keep creating, because creating is who I am. Even if the world doesn't hear me, I will not silence myself. That night, he recorded again. His voice cracked, his eyes were swollen, but his words carried the weight of truth. To anyone out there who feels invisible, know this: you are not alone. I too have failed countless times, but as long as I breathe, I will not stop trying, because hope is stronger than failure. Close quote. He pressed upload and leaned back. No fireworks, no sudden fame, no miracle, just silence. But this time, the silence did not hurt. This time, the silence felt like peace. Because Kashif had realized, success was not in the numbers, not in subscribers, not in likes. Success was in refusing to let failure break his spirit. And so, though the world may call him a failed YouTuber, in his heart, Kashif knew he was still a warrior who never gave up.